We are calling to order the Goldville Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee of June 9th, 2021. Here we are. And we're gonna, we have a roll call.
Roll call. Steve Kiesling.
Here.
Richard Hart.
Here.
Paige Pruitt.
Here.
Larry Holm.
Here.
Jan Fish. Lorraine Parks. All right, we have a quorum.
Okay. We have a flag.
It's over there.
Oh.
Richard? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Allegiance to the flag
of America,
of the United States of America and
for which it stands, one nation, under God.
to God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes.
That was broken up.
Yeah, we found out at the council meetings to just have one person say it.
Yeah, that's it's better this way. Yeah, this is history. Yeah. Okay, so agenda adjustments. Paige, which you said you had something?
You want to rearrange the?
Oh, so I'm not going to be able to stay for the whole meeting. So as far as kind of BlackBerry stuff and then our priorities list, if we could, I think I'm not looking at the agenda right now, but I think it was down towards the end.
Okay.
Project priorities number 13.
Speaking of BlackBerry abatement, are you the one that called in the fire last night?
No, but I'd like to know more about it.
We'll talk a little later. I was down there last night and this morning looking at what happened and taking some pictures and whatnot. And I was wondering if you had been the one who had maybe called it in because it was almost across from you.
No, I didn't know about it. Jessica mentioned it, and I didn't hear any fire trucks or anything yesterday.
Yeah, I got the call through Oregon Department of Forestry. Someone in forestry contacted my son, who contacted me, told me it was on the 1400 block, which I was assuming was about where the driveway turns into our property. But when I went to run, I came around the corner at the parks, and that's kind of where things were going on. So,
Do you know what started it?
to be honest with you, I have my feelings. I know what I took pictures of last night. It was hard for me to get down into the area. I had a situation with the county sheriff that involved me calling the mayor so that I probably didn't get in further trouble. I was trying to help them, and there was a cop who was just not being compliant or professional at all, unfortunately. Doesn't understand the concept of working in voluntary cooperation. But we'll discuss that later. But there was a considerable amount of blackberries adjacent to, on the upstream side of the powerhouse, all within 50 to 60 feet of the creek. There was evidence of campers. There was evidence that at one point or another there had been a campfire there. And there were fresh items that I took pictures of that we had hoped somebody would come and maybe see if there were fingerprints on it. I don't know. Don't know what to say.
Was that upstream of the powerhouse?
Upstream of the powerhouse.
Oh, yeah. I dismantled a fire ring there a few weeks ago.
One little sandy beach.
Yeah. So
yeah, there was fresh stuff there where people had been right there, and it's adjacent, but without knowing the exact when or I mean, there was a lot of people down in there last night, the firefighters and stuff. They seem to have more law enforcement than firefighters.
So before I need to cut out, I would love to talk more about that, and so I'm not sure how we want to arrange the agenda or speed through it or.
okay. Well, I think the most.
It's number 5 and number 13 that we want to go.
Yeah, we don't have any public.
No, there's no public.
Okay.
So, well, yeah, why don't we, why don't we just talk about that first, if there's anything, I mean, that seems like pressing business, so.
We've got a huge risk there. They said that they only cut one spot to get in there, but when I was there, there's the fences to the powerhouse are just blatantly open again. There are 3 hatch covers missing on the walkway right in front of the powerhouse, and we've got to at least, I mean, if you fall down in there, that's the worst possible hazard in that whole place of someone getting hurt, and we can fix it for about $40. At least make it so that someone can't fall through those holes. We've got to do something about that. We've got to get some more adequate fencing up in there. I agree, Paige. This has got to be moved to one of the top priorities of the Parks Department. We're going to get sued sooner or later.
We're going to get sued. It is going to be an insane liability. Knowing what's going. I mean, we're on video talking about it. We know what's going on for months, and we haven't done anything. And so, when we talk about our priority list, I think that the powerhouse needs to be on there. And I'm not saying a decision on what to do with the powerhouse long-term or finding funding for that. I'm saying putting up no trespassing signs, putting up cameras, putting up razor wire, really doing everything we can to deter the amount of traffic that's going in there, which is a lot. Get the camp host started as soon as possible and have him or her doing regular rounds. There are things we can do to reduce the abuse of that building in that area, and the potential hazard that it's going to bring. So
that cupola is going to come through the roof. One good windstorm away from that coming right in. If someone's inside. I viewed a lot of that today, and yeah, it's an unsafe situation. This no longer can be neglected.
So I think, to Richard's point, those access holes into what was the turbine rooms.
Yeah.
That we had years ago, we actually made some covers for those. And of course, they were steel and they were stolen for scrap. So whatever goes back in those holes has got to be.
Can't you pour concrete form in there and cement over them?
What we proposed today, originally I told them I'd like to just lay a piece of tarp out, make a wooden box, pour one exactly the diameter, and then slide it over there, put it in place. And Sean made a great comment there. If we just cut 1/2-inch plywood, set it in there, put enough rebar in there for a handle where we can get to it to pull it back out, and just with maybe 3 or 4 sacks of Sacrete at $6 a piece, we can do all 3 of them for a minimum. We're under $100 here to be able to go down there and do it in a way that somebody's not going to fall through, or it's going to be at least a hell of a lot harder to fall through than it is now. We can't ignore that. And then we've got to get the perimeter. We have to show that we're making an effort. If we keep showing no effort and someone gets hurt, that's the definition of neglect. And being, we can't be irresponsible in that way. Something's got to happen.
Yeah,
it's sitting right in there in the worst fire hazard of the whole park, the highest blackberries. It's a tinderbox waiting to happen, and we've heard fireworks going off in there before.
Well, it wouldn't have been very far for it to get where it would have breached the first dike and into that main area that we've been looking at, that we just took last meeting and went up there and looked at all those blackberries in the center. It was not very far from getting to that. On a hotter day, if we had had the weather yesterday that we had last week, we would be having a different conversation right now.
Yep.
Yep. It's got to be dealt with, and there's several issues here. We've got the possibility of a homeless issue. We've got the obvious neglect of us doing something to make that place safer, and the responsibility we have to get cameras, as you said, even if it's me climbing some trees there and putting in some of my trail cams. We've got to get a handle on it. And the graffiti, I agree with you, there's far too much. I will say this, I did see the progression of where some kid did some really bad work, and you look at what he did today or in the last couple of weeks here, he needs to go to college, not to jail. Someone's got to point this kid a different direction. His stuff is not pornographic or anything, but his work is getting really good. He needs some guidance somewhere. Someone needs to get a hold of him and turn him a different direction. You know?
Yeah, well, how do we as the Parks Advisory Committee go about actually getting some work done on the ground?
Well, I think part of it is, in terms of project priorities. I mean, I think this is, the first thing we need to do is to realize people are in there all the time, and somebody's going to get killed if they fall through those holes, and we want to prevent that as a first order of business, and that just means getting, just as a recommendation that Tony or whoever, that just, hey, we've got to fill those holes with something that can't be, easily stolen, and then the next order of business is, what are the other lethal parts where somebody sneaking in could die, and can we fix those? And the BlackBerry, can we burn it? And the same, or can we reduce the fire hazard? And then also, how do we keep people out? But keeping people out is going to be very difficult because there's so many ways in. That's. But opening it up will make it less. The more we take the BlackBerries out, the more obvious it is. The less. The less good it'll be for the people who want us to hide.
Do you think people would be as apt to come down there if they saw new no trespassing signs and now under camera surveillance signs? I mean, if I knew I was on camera, I probably wouldn't go hanging around in there.
Yeah, actually, but that might be a place where cameras would work, because behavior, if they weren't just stolen,
they'd have to be up high enough.
That's.
Yeah, and maybe being viewed by someone so that if they were trying to steal them, it could send someone down there. In regards to this tagging thing and how this could be attacked, I saw literally dozens of aerosol cans today. Actually most of them not very old. There's a point there where, even just fingerprinting those cans, something's got to happen in such a way that we can pin it down to who's doing it. And if you're painting, you're going to get fingerprints on the can because you got paint on your hands. This is not rocket science. It's just a matter of it being enough a priority to us to make it enough of a priority to our sheriff's department and somebody in the district attorney's office. And like I said, I'd much rather see that one kid going to college than to jail, but something's got to get done.
But I actually think graffiti would be the least of,
it's all part of it, man.
Well, but if there's graffiti there where people are not supposed to be, it's not offending the general public. And so if it's I think, safety is the first thing. Nobody dies there. And don't burn down the whole town so we get rid of the BlackBerries. And then we're securing it, we're putting in cameras, but worrying about, graffiti in a place where people are not supposed to be. It's like, hey, maybe they're doing that rather than the skateboard park.
There's nothing blocking, for instance, on the low walls if you come down the river and up against that side of the building, there's nothing to stop you.
Yeah.
At that point, there's no fence or anything there. So, and that doesn't even need to stop people from that area. It's the upper area where you can fall through, where you can get inside, where the roof can collapse, where you can fall over the edge,
So,
I agree with what you're saying, Steve, about the kind of the hierarchy of what needs attention there. Although I do think, and whether it's the powerhouse or wherever, the more kind of vandalism you have and the longer you let it go, the more it attracts because people think they can get away with it. And, when they study vandalism and graffiti and they look at this, the sooner you get rid of it, the less likely it is to return. It's going to return a little bit, yeah, but it was only 2 years ago that place started getting painted. I've lived here for 17 and it sat there for a really long time with no graffiti, and it's been exponential. And it's because really nothing's been done to take care of it. And, I hope that we can put on our priority list dealing with the graffiti in the park, not just at the powerhouse, but across the park, because it encourages future vandalism by not doing anything, and it looks bad. Like I said at the last meeting, we had somebody come out here to enjoy our park, and we ended up being broadcasted for our graffiti on Facebook on a public page. That's embarrassing. We need to also have concern for the fact that some of it's pretty graphic, and we have kids trying to enjoy the park. Swear words, body parts, inappropriate stuff, but it just makes it more inviting, and it's a demonstration that we don't really care. So, it's just getting worse and worse. It's not getting better. It's not, there's more and more graffiti. I saw someone post on Facebook a couple of days ago, Muse, who we've never removed any of Muse's stuff. And he's, I think, further to the park by the bridge now on a big cement area.
Big one.
Yep. And
There's
he's got other big
there.
ones. He's got the big one down up from the powerhouse. He's, it's all over the park.
Yep.
And someone actually posted on Facebook what his name is. I could go back and look for it, and we could try and, someone knows who it is on Facebook. They were like, that's so-and-so, and we could try and get it from that angle. But there's not just one person. I've seen kids going in there with bags of aerosol cans and then called Tony the next day, and they're sitting down at the beach, and he's gone and cleaned them up. It's chronic. So anyway.
Yeah, and at the same time, that's not going to kill anybody. It's not going to burn down the town. So I think, just in terms of priorities, we got to, and especially those holes that have been sitting there for years, we got to fill them in. And then we've got to deal with the fire and the homelessness. And we got to, the other thing we need to do is test that building again, or find the test for asbestos, because that's what, if I think there's asbestos in those walls, the part above the concrete, and that's why we can't just rip them down. Because if we tore it down just to the concrete, which would be really cheap, and then we could maybe in the future put up an awning and just have a nice place. Turning it into something that people could go and just have a look out over the river would not be expensive if the demolition of the wall isn't full of asbestos. If we could knock it down, if we can just cart it away, then we could do a cleanup day probably.
I have some information. I think I sent it to Jessica at some point, but it was somewhere I can have some information about what the, I can't remember if it was DEQ or EPA or who did a study out there on the chemicals, but I don't think it was the wall. I don't think it was the construction. I think it was more like what's found in the soil around there that would need some special attention when cleaned up.
Yeah,
but I can look for that.
I have a copy of that. I think it's on the Gold Hill Whitewater Center website. And essentially what they found some evidence of some contamination, but they also said that it wasn't that bad. It's around the building in a few places. And if we didn't do anything, it wouldn't be the end of the world. And it's a very, that's not a significant problem. I mean, we could make it one if we chose to, but the report isn't all that concerned. But there was, at the same time, there was a report done for asbestos in those walls. If we could take the walls down, that would solve a lot of the problem, because then people couldn't hide the way they do. And
You're thinking if it was just like a surface with maybe like a railing around it, and people could use it as like a platform to go picnic or something like that?
exactly, because there's the concrete foundation goes up about 4 feet above the ground, the floor level of the inside of the powerhouse. And above that, then it's wood and some sort of, with a concrete cover, and it's just a thin stucco.
Like a plaster of some kind or something?
And supposedly there was asbestos in some of that stuff. And I don't know, but that was, at least that's what I heard. And since we're recording, we probably just can't go and rip it down and pretend it's not there. I mean, to do that kind of demo, we have to have it tested for asbestos. It was done once. I just haven't been able to track down the report.
Okay.
Couldn't find it either. But
All right. Well,
a few $100 to get that tested and figure out, is there asbestos? And if there isn't, then we could rip the walls down and just
okay.
have an area, and it would be much less appealing to.
Okay. Well, maybe we can continue the conversation about what to do with it in the future on our future meetings. In the short term, can we kind of create a little timeline? Like, we would really love to have the holes filled within a month. We would really love to have the blackberries removed within 3 months. We'd love to have signs up and cameras up in 3 months or 2 months. Can we set some basic goals for, June, July, August?
Yeah, we can do that.
I think that's realistic. Those hatches, I got to do something about that in the next week or so, just as a person. I can't allow
Make sure if
that.
you do it, I'll buy the Quick Creek.
Can the city just write the check for Quick Creek?
Yeah.
Good. That's something we got to do.
I'll buy the supplies if we
Yeah.
do work.
And I'll get Jim to help me with the metal that we need to set in there for the handles. And so it's got some wire in there so someone doesn't step in concrete crack and fall through the hole. There'll be, like some hog wire paneling in there with a handle.
I picked up some rectangles of steel to make a frame for those a few years ago. I got it out of the scrapyard. There's another way of doing it. So let's talk, but we can figure,
I have Barney will donate some time and help you on that.
We can,
Sure.
but whatever we do there, we have to bolt it in or something. So otherwise, because the last one's got snow.
If it takes 3 sacks of saccharin to do 1 hatch, that's 60 pounds a sack. That's 180 pounds.
Yeah.
They want to lift it up and move it. I don't know what else we can do. 180 pounds should be plenty heavy to hold it in place. Don't need bolts.
Actually, well, the reason the manhole is round is because you can't drop it through. So anything that anybody can move at all, they'll shift it and drop it down the hole. That's what they'll do.
They'll be on the camera.
Anyway, but let's talk about that as different. So anyway, let's work. So the thing that we're going to work on these manholes. We're going to at Blackberries. I think
Fix the fence.
Okay, fence.
I can say something about the blackberries. If it's appropriate now.
Well, just on before we get that, we should get an asbestos test to see what we can do with the. These are things we're basically running by the city council, right? That recommendation.
Yeah. We should write a proposal
and.
What about getting no trespassing and under video surveillance signs up? Even if the under video surveillance signs are up before the video surveillance.
So we just bought a bunch of those for the powerhouse. They already exist.
What signs?
Signs.
Yeah, no
Signs.
trespassing or
Yes,
video surveillance?
Shannon already.
Okay, so can we get them up within the next month?
I would think so. Shannon is kind of getting moved over, unfortunately, to,
It's not unfortunate.
it's not unfortunate. He's being trained to run the water plant. We really need that. But I mean, he is such a good worker. It's hard when you have somebody that's good at doing his job to watch him go somewhere else. But yeah,
But he's
we
good at
look,
doing somebody else's job. He's never a parks worker,
yeah,
never. I'm
yeah,
just putting it back to what he's actually hired for.
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's just a great boss because he knows so much about
Well, I
this.
budgeted for another person, so we will have some more help coming.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so can we say signs and manholes within a month and blackberries within 8 weeks?
All we can do is
Let's
recommend it.
meet there and look at which blackberries you're proposing. I can't give you any type of a timeline or suggest that I can help with something without looking at how many square feet you're talking about. But we can get somewhere.
Well, so one thing that I wanted to suggest, and this was, for our ongoing 3 to 5 year blackberry project more than the powerhouse, but incidentally, the thickest blackberries are right near the powerhouse, so they kind of are the same, go hand in hand. But the other day, the Gold Hill irrigation ditch tender was over here, and he brought up blackberries, and he said he knows of a fellow. I can grab his name to see if any of you know him. He gave me his name and his number, and he's $100 an hour, and he has a machine on a track that has a big old arm, and it cuts down the blackberries. And if Gold Hill had some money to invest, we could hire him for however many hours we can afford and have him cut blackberries. Let me grab his name. I'll be right back.
Larry, you're very quiet. What do you think?
His name is Dave Goddard. Anybody know Dave Goddard?
The name is familiar.
Nope.
He's got a big blackberry mower. And if you all are interested, I can either have Jessica call, or I can call and get his email address and connect him by email to Jessica, and have him out and see what it is. The other thing that's happening on the blackberry front is I did reach out to Lomakatsi, who is the nonprofit for the region that has a workforce that does wildfire fuels reduction and restoration. And it took a while to hear back because they're super busy, but they are going to bring some of their staff out here to take a look and see about supporting a 3 to 5 year effort to get the blackberries down and help get some native vegetation in for both wildfire fuels reduction and river restoration. But they have a lot of access to know-how for funding and resources, and they are a workforce. That's what they do. They train young people and others to do the work and pay them fairly. So hopefully they'll have the time to come down here and check it out, and I'll nudge her on email. So that's my report for the longer blackberry project. But if we just want to hire somebody and look around, Dave or somebody else just to come in and do it who has the equipment, it might be the shortest route for this year.
The city's been hiring. That's how they're hiring people to get it done all along. But they're all done. Are they done now?
Oh, yeah, they're done.
Yeah.
Well, we weren't hiring. That was grant money. We didn't pay for that.
Okay.
Jessica, would there be any dollars to hire him? I mean, if we had $3,000, that would be 30 hours of work. It seems like he'd be able to get a fair amount done with the machine.
Yeah, and $3,000 doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it is. We're broke. We could probably work something out. I mean, I know.
Yeah.
I only have for the entire year next year, parks repairs and maintenance, I have $46,000 budgeted. And that includes hopefully replacing the gazebos and getting the bike path fixed. I mean, you see, once those two things are done, how much money am I really going to have left over? Probably not a lot.
So,
We just
Well, I guess that's why we need to make a priority list.
grants.
yeah. Okay, well, so Paige, if you could, keep checking with Wamakotsi. I mean, if we could figure out some sort of, and also the, sort of as riparian management and get the weed control people to pay for it. I mean, that would be huge because, I mean, they've talked about helping us, so.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of turnaround time because they got to get projects in queue and have enough people and resources. But they're really invested right now because there's Jackson County put in a whole bunch of money to do Bear Creek, and so they're doing a lot of the work there. But they also work up in the forests. So I think not this time of year so much on that though. So do you want Jessica me to reach out to Dave and see? I mean, what if we had $1,500 and he could do 15 hours and knock back some of the blackberries around he might not even be able to get the equipment in there is the thing. So he has to be able to move in there on a track, it sounds like.
Yeah, we should at least have him come out and look at the job and go from there.
Can't hear you?
We should at least have him come out and look at the job. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll make a connection.
Cool, all righty. So, where are we? Okay.
Was there anything else that you needed to go over before you said that you weren't able to stay the whole meeting? Was there anything else on the list?
Well, when we met at the park, wasn't that 3 weeks ago now? We were talking about the short-term priority list.
Mm-hmm.
And we rattled off several things that I think it was like 5 or 6 things that we wanted to formally pass along to council that were our priorities, short-term, not long-term vision. And I think I know what they were, but I can't recall. So if we could put that together.
Yes.
I know one of them was repairing and or repaving the bike path.
Yes.
That was one. One of them was replacing the roof on the pavilions in the picnic area. One of them was continuing the blackberry removal and figuring out how we're going to tackle that. I can't remember if one of them was the skate park gazebo, but my understanding is that Can Do wants that to be their baby, and we're not really going to be involved with that as much. I don't know if anyone can confirm that. That would let me know.
I haven't heard anything on that from Can Do, but I know we got money for that. Not a ton of money, but I think we got $3,000 right now. I could tell you exactly what they got, but the other part of the skate park is getting it sealed.
Okay.
And I haven't jumped on that ball here lately. I've had life get in the way for a while, and so I'll get back on it before our next meeting.
Okay. So we're talking about bike path, pavilion, skate park sealed, camp host, was that one of them, or was that not on our priority list because it's already happening? Or was that still something we wanted to be like, yes, this is a priority, let's make it happen ASAP?
Back to the pavilions, since you did bring that up, this morning I spoke with Tony, who got me a copy of the bid for doing the new roofs. I got that to the mayor this morning. He feels it's a priority. He also knows that we don't have a whole lot of money, and I let him know that I have some volunteers who are willing to help with the take off of the roof, and we were going to look at potentially if anyone out there is a supplier of metal roofs we could get a discount from and approach it at a more of a community thing and see if we can work a way to get it together, because we all know that there's not the money for it. But
and like I said, I've got money budgeted for it, but it's not much. So the more we can save costs.
So we're trying, we're making an effort on that one. That one's had movement this week a little bit, because there has been some time spent trying to make those things come together.
Okay, so when we're talking about I mean, do we want to just have, right now, I'm looking at 7 priorities. Do we want to pare it back? I'm looking at bike path, pavilion, skate park sealed, camp host, blackberries, or wildfire,
I'm gonna say something.
fuels reduction.
Park Ceiling, I mean, technically that's Camden's project.
Yeah,
I don't have city money budgeted for repairing the skate park.
okay, yeah, it can be.
Okay, good. So the skate park being sealed does not need to be on our list, nor does the skate park gazebo.
Right.
No, not at
I'm not sure about the gazebo. I thought Richard had some good ideas and connections when we talked, but again, nothing sewed up on any of this stuff, but I don't want to kick Richard out the door either. He's very valuable. But I do, the seal and that kind of stuff, the paying of it will be taken care of by Can Do.
Yeah, can do.
Okay, so we don't need to have that on this list. Is there someone trying to join our meeting named Joel?
Some guy named Joe, maybe it's Billy Joe.
That's my neighbor, I think.
Yeah,
Could be Billy Joe.
so you can't talk to him. He's just here to watch you, just like if we were in a regular chamber situation.
Oh, okay,
So,
cool.
Okay. It's on my end, it's saying connecting to audio, like they're trying to
he
be
has
here.
the other
Like it's doing the thing.
Still,
Okay, and then Powerhouse. So we didn't have Powerhouse on our list when we were talking 3 weeks ago at the park, but probably should be on there. Short-term
Some things
Powerhouse
have
team.
to be, yeah, some things have to be done there for sure, obviously.
So,
We got to get it to where we're not going to be sued.
And then graffiti. So bike path, pavilion, camp host, fire fuels reduction, powerhouse safety, and graffiti across the park, not just the powerhouse.
I would enjoy if you would meet with me down in the area by the powerhouse sometime in the next few days, since the fences are out. Me and you can walk around and take a realistic look at what's going on there and come to some decisions of what we realistically can do or will work, some ideas for that. If you're willing to spend the time, I know that you have a lot going on, and I value your time.
I won't be able to do that until next week. So next week in the afternoon, I won't be available for the next 4 days. But I can do it in the afternoon on probably Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday next week. So we can complain about that.
Possibly on Monday afternoon if we could do that, because I've been trying to get out of town for a couple of weeks, but that's all another story.
Okay.
yeah, I think,
Let me look.
okay, a few things here on the list. One of them, like on the bike path, I know Tony's got some, he got some prices for patching it, and we can't repave the whole thing. That would.
they haven't actually sent over the pricing yet.
Oh, okay.
They came out and looked at it.
Okay,
We haven't gotten the
okay,
price yet.
okay,
We're waiting
good.
on it.
So anyway, that's in the works. The roof, I guess, it sounds like the roof for the gazebos is in the works in terms of
Moving forward, yeah.
moving forward. Blackberry removal, we're going to run into extreme fire danger soon. So, I mean, we may have already lost our window to do it this year, or if that'll close pretty quickly.
There is handwork that could be done that could considerably make a difference.
Okay.
Where just simply pruners, loppers, and a little bit of bleeding, unfortunately, would incur. But there are some areas around the powerhouse that there's got to have some stuff done in order to make it to where we can provide the adequate fencing so you can't come from the backside and stuff. There's something's got to happen there. But it's still doable. We're not to that high of a level of fire or danger yet that we can't have the proper tools there.
Yeah, and I think if you get it done before 10 o'clock in the morning or something like that, you can do some other stuff, something like that.
But you have to have a fire watch for a couple hours, even though it's it's low, and that all goes up, and then you have to have a fire extinguisher and an observer and a shovel and a rake, and it gets extensive. Creates this whole set of extra stuff. But yeah, we can still get some things done in there. And I agree, having the upper region of it more open where people can see people there will help stop them getting out of there. And maybe me and you can look for some spots where I could maybe put one of just a $35 game cam in the tree, and we can get pictures of who's going in and out as needed. Start putting some things together to make people maybe detour a little bit, with the signage and stuff. I think some of that is just going to have to, the way we're set for manpower right now is going to have to be done voluntarily with the help of either ourselves or others in the community that can give an hour here and an hour there. Paige, yours is what you can help me most with is just walking through there and looking and telling me, this is, just a couple of ideas of what you think would maybe work. And then you got to give me the leeway to try and run with that. And I think that we can get somewhere. I have a little bit of time this summer because I can't be out doing some of the stuff that I really wanted to be getting done before fire season. I'm going to have to do the stuff that I can do now. So we can meet in the middle somewhere there, get some of this.
Give me a yell when you do that, Richard. I'd like to go in there and throw in 2 cents when we're walking around.
Yeah, let's go in there and
Okay.
look at that in the afternoon. Paige can take the time because I know she's under the most concern.
Yeah, Monday later in the day, maybe 4:30 or 5, something like that. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that would work for me.
Are you guys hearing this thunder?
Yeah, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Man.
Yeah, it's loud. Sounds really ominous. So, okay.
What's happening?
So back to the list. How do we want to go about? We know that these are our priorities, but how do we keep them as priorities or make them more visible? Get leadership buy-in.
We're actually going down the list, and one of them is on our list is the camp host. So Jessica, did that make it into the budget?
It did. And it's
Okay.
budgeted for a separate thing, so it's not coming out of the parks repairs money.
Okay, so the camp host is going to happen. So we're good to go on that, and it's not a cost to us. So that's
It's a cost to us because we have to set up the site
okay.
for someone to live on.
But there's some. Is there anything that? That's one of our priorities, but it's been adopted by the city as a priority. So what do we do to support it? Is that just what I'm asking? Anything?
We need a golf cart.
Yeah, you can come up with a golf cart for the person to ride around on.
Yeah.
That'd be
One of those one wheels would be the way to go nowadays, right? Just much less invasive for people on the trail because you're only this wide. You could sneak up on the kids much faster.
Okay. So we're actually we're moving on the list. We have the repairing the bike path, the roof, working on the roofs of the gazebos, the park host. The skate park stuff is going to can do. Blackberry removal, we're working on that. Graffiti removal, that's what I don't know.
That's a whole thing. That's a whole thing in itself. Right now, we just got to deal with the safety issues and the liability issues around that thing. And the graffiti is part of that because, like she said, it's encouraging it into areas where they're hiding to do it so that they don't get caught, and some of those areas are dangerous. So we need to either have a spot that's out of sight that's not dangerous, then lure them into there and then photograph them so we know who they are, or whatever we got to do. But we got to hit the dangerous part out of bounds first.
I guess my feeling is we're working on the camp host, which is working on the graffiti problem to some extent.
Yes.
And and we're working on the powerhouse to make it safe. I mean, I just think graffiti is something that as a priority, I don't see it. I mean, we got too many things that are, more like safety and disaster. And
Well, this park is right at the start of the Rogue Umpqua Scenic Byway. It is the premier recreation area for Gold Hill City and the broader zip code. It's offensive to people who are parents. It's an eyesore, and it just is a really stark demonstration of the level of care that the city has for its own property. And I realize it's not a safety issue or a fire hazard, but it's been there for too long. And I mean, I guess we can just let it go and not really address the fact that we need to organize a volunteer day and buy some paint. It's not that complicated.
There's a happy medium, I think, in there too. But let's keep moving forward with the parts that we can control right now. And like I said, we're moving towards one common goal. We've got the camp hosts coming in. We're going to be doing some fencing. We need to be picking up every time there's an aerosol, picking it up with rubber gloves, dropping it in a bag, and finding out whose fingerprints on it. Things like that until we solve the issue. It's a matter of footwork to do some of these things and making a little bit of effort on a regular basis. We can make this happen. And I understand that's nature and how that comes. And that's where you brought up the most key part, is this being part of the scenic byway and the gateway of it. That's what makes us such a wonderful town. Is there any way, and you're the best at getting people from outside the area to do things with that scenic byway, is there any state organizations or money they've sent into the county that's because of the scenic byway thing that we could tap into, or resources there? You're the best at that. Is there anyone out there?
There probably is, and I can look around for those, but there's two things here. There's preventing future graffiti, and there's also dealing with the graffiti that's there. There's the F word scrawled on picnic tables. Again, there's a giant penis on the bike path. There are taggings made by the same individual all over the park that just keep adding on and adding on. There's hardly anything that's man-made in the park at this point that does not have some type of tagging. And some things that aren't man-made, like trees and rocks. So it's getting worse and worse because we keep looking the other way and we keep making it not a priority. I've stopped going to the park, even though I'm on the Parks Commission. I'm doing my walks now at the state park because I just don't want to look at other people's vandalism whenever I go out and try to have a walk. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's not frequenting Gold Hill Park anymore because it's gotten so bad.
Well, the only thing I could think of, and this is illegal, but the way to take care of that is send some people down there at night that volunteers and just wait for it's happening quite often, and spend a few hours down there at different times at night, and you can get in all kinds of legal trouble because definitely people are going to try to get away if you run them down and beat on them. That's, I don't know how in the heck you catch those guys. It's pretty.
So I'm not talking about stopping future graffiti. I'm talking about dealing with the graffiti that's already there. I'm talking about trying to get out with a group of 10 people on a Saturday afternoon and a couple cans of paint and covering stuff up. I'm not talking about the bigger issue right now. I'm talking about trying to make the park look better because it's tagged everywhere.
Let's throw out a ball.
The backstops are tagged. The old cement blocks are tagged. The dog poop bag containers are tagged. The trash cans are tagged.
Right.
Signs are tagged.
Okay. I got it. I hear you. Okay. Then have the city put out a volunteer day to buy a few cans of the gray paint or whatever color we need. Gray's been pretty good on most stuff. And call a volunteer day, and we Harbor Freight pick up 3-inch paint brushes or whatever they got, those boxes of them. They're pretty cheap, and call on the community. Dang it, come and let's clean up our area. I don't see where that's such a hard deal if we put that out from the city. And a lot of people are pretty happy the way things have been going as far as the growth of like Christmas lights, and people are, the beach. By the way, on the beach, are we still getting sand on there? And the other thing is, we need outhouses down at the beach.
I just called for the.
There are no outhouses down there.
They're dropping.
So anyway, sand and outhouses is something I came up with walking the other day. We were going to do sand. I don't know where that stands. Certainly we're going to be so darn popular with this dry weather and the heat. And but we got to have outhouses or something.
The outhouses are on the way.
Yeah, I'll shut up.
Yeah.
So Larry, Steve, did you want to say something about the outhouses?
Yeah, they're.
Just that. Go ahead.
So the outhouses are coming. Is the sand?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're supposed to.
Okay, sand is coming. Yeah, the beach park looks great.
Rain's coming to you right now too. It's pouring right here,
So Larry,
which is good.
Would you want to, do you think that Can Do would be willing if we organized a volunteer day to help put the word out about it, or help be involved in that in any way? To
I
their
would hope
email
that,
list?
yeah, we'd have to, Carol, let me talk to the boss. Do you think Can Do would be interested in putting out the word to, we put up a volunteer thing and go around and paint off the, okay, yeah, they'd be interested.
Larry, would you want to work with me and we can set a date and come up with maybe just a morning from 8 to 1 one day on a Saturday and just knock it out?
That sounds good.
All right, we'll make it our little side project. We don't have to make it a parks committee thing. We can
good
just
enough.
do it. We'll just do
you
it.
got my phone number?
I'll connect you an email offline and we can just do
Okay.
it separately.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right. Good.
Cool.
All right.
So Larry and I are going to do graffiti and we'll get
All
back.
right. We do the graffiti dance.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it'll knock a bunch out.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Like every place else, we need more young people to get involved in all this, and we're just a bunch of old frogs, still going at in reality, going at it. And
we're going to find
none of the old groups have any young people in them. Things have changed, and it's hard to get them involved. And anyway, but we can put the call out. I'm sure we can get people, just like we did with the cleanup down there at the park here, 2 weeks ago. So
okay.
yeah, we can get that done. We'll get it done.
We will, and we'll look at maybe. Okay. I've got a lot going on, but maybe the second half of July we'll set a date, and I can make a flyer and do stuff.
Okay.
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 All right, so we'll connect.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. Back to the priority list.
Okay, that's wonderful. Okay.
You got it.
I think that's all the priorities I know we've come up with so far.
Well, if we just got to start knocking some of them off, and like Paige was saying, we kind of keep bringing it up, but we've kind of ground to a halt. And I know Richard's been working his booty off, and yeah, let's just get started and start knocking some of this stuff off. And I would like to be part of that when you guys go into the thing and see what we can get done there as far as filling the holes and the cameras and stuff. So that way we
talking about Monday at 5 maybe? Does Monday at 5 work for you?
Does for me.
I can come too.
Okay.
Yeah. Joel,
yeah. Let's meet down there Monday at 5 and at the powerhouse there, and just see what we can really do and what we can't do. Okay.
All right.
Monday, 5 o'clock. Cool.
All
There's
right.
progress.
Okay. Cool.
Good.
Okay, just sort of jumping in. I'll go to the Whitewater Park thing. Oh, good. Mark Freeman, who has who writes for the Medford paper. He has a
Right.
show on TV show. Anyway, he's doing a show on Kobe Bach and his, I guess Kobe still has the world record for going a stand-up paddleboard off a waterfall. And also he's filming him in Tillman Falls, and he's doing an update on the Whitewater Park Olympic bid. Meanwhile, we're trying to get a meeting with the governor. Alex Campbell is helping us with that to move that Olympic bid along. That's going to take a couple of months anyway. But I think we can actually get that going, which will be fun. The Powerhouse Canal update. I'm not sure what they're, I think we got our hands full at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Yeah.
this involves that, it's adjacent, and so it's one end of the canal.
yeah.
So it's the starting point, it's not always where you end up. Sometimes it's just getting started, and if we can get started, then we can make some progress somehow in there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think my sense is this has been a great meeting, and we should keep all these things on the agenda. But I don't think there's anything else we really need to talk about at this moment, unless somebody feels differently.
Well, the good thing here is, at least I'm leaving with, I was thinking when this was going that, we all talk some good stuff and things, but I feel like, we're going to get some stuff started now, and it's starting with Monday at 5, Paige and I meeting, and I can hook up with Can Do, getting the graffiti going, and we get our wheels turning here. We can, it makes it easier to keep sliding along, and everything that's brought up on the priority list is doable. So that's the big thing. It's not pie in the sky. It's doable. We just got to keep it moving between all of us, all our efforts. And I think we can get some success going, because for years, a lot of talk and no action. Talk sounded good, but there was no action. And if we're going to do it, let's do it.
Bravo.
Pep talk. I used to be a coach.
I'm going to be away for the next meeting, so I don't think I'll be able to sign in from afar because I'm going to be vacationing, but
Okay.
I can send a report or something.
Yeah.
That's healthy. I wish I was.
Hey, it's,
Okay.
go ahead.
Oh, is the excavator? Did Tony find